Hey everyone, Snipey47A here, and I am here today to go through my PvP build. I don't know why I didn't do this sooner. I guess I had other stuff to do, but unbelievably, and you probably saw SOB's similar video about this, mine and his build have been accused of exploiting a core game mechanic being accuracy and defense. So I'm going to show you what mine is, but I'll go through the entire build, which I'll pretty much start off with. So I'm in a Jem Hadar Strike Ship tier 6. I have two different loadouts for it from a front weapons point of view. If I'm going to be 1v1ing, or if I know that there are other fast escorts that make up a significant portion of the team in a 5v5, I do run single cannons. I'm still in the process of upgrading them. I've got a couple of Act 3 damage Alarchis. I'm probably going to replace this coalition with just an Act 3 pen, and this one's probably my worst one. It was just on another account upgraded, so I just brought it across. So as you can see, I've only really got 3 weapons that do have an Act focus, and this one will eventually be an Act 3 pen. Now with my DHCs, I run, again still in the process of upgrading, I do run a Act 3 pen DHC, Act 3 Crit D, the Terran, and a wide dual heavy cannon with accuracy ×2 and rapid. Now I've heard that the rapid mod does interfere with the rapid fire. I haven't personally found this, and it was a weapon that I had for a while, so I've just decided to use it. So I may replace that eventually with an Act 3 pen, but for now that's what I use if I got a DHC set up. In the rear I've got Act 3 damage coalitions and the heavy biomolecular disruptor, and I'm also running the rail gun. My space set, I have the counter command 2-piece, and I'll go through why I have that when I talk about the accuracy and defense of the build. I do run the Fleet Spire Warp Core pretty much for its resistance to drain, its boost to EPS, and it does have a 10% reduction to weapons power cost. I did tinker with the Terran core for a while. I sort of prefer the Fleet core over the Terran core. Run the Iconian shield, obviously, because of its debuff scrubber. One debuff is scrubbed every 10 seconds, and in my opinion, it's still one of the best shields in the game. Now, the devices I use is the targeting lock battery and the reactive armor catalyst. So onto my consoles, I run the Lucari automatic field projector, the Kobali regenerative integrity field, the DPRM, which this tomb being a Romulan was cheap to get, but I also do run as the 2-piece the secondary shield projector, which for a Romulan wasn't cheap to get. To spend I think 300 mil or something like that just to get that console. I do have the other 2 consoles for that set. The 2-piece in that set does give a Cat 1 boost to my disruptor weapons. It's almost like having another TAC console on there. To assist my turn rate, I do run the tachyokinetic converter, but it also has a positive addition to my critical chance and severity, which you can just see there under the attack section. I run the Jem Hadar 3-piece set as well. So the Dominion defense screen, which gives me a passive 1.2% critical chance, 12.5% critical severity, and the defense screen itself, I use this when I do come under sustained attack from at least 2 or more enemies. It's a shield heal. It also sets my shield resistance to 95% over what I already have for 20 seconds. It does say there the firing my weapons does reduce the duration of this ability, but when you have the 3-piece, that is negated. Enhanced Dominion Coordination Protocols console, 15% directed energy damage, so sort of just under half of attack console, and 8% critical severity. Comes with Fleet Maneuver Gamma, which affects the entire team, which is a damage buff, a movement buff, and has an immunity. And so it's 15% Cat 2 damage, 60% turn rate and flight speed, and plus 100 to my inertia. I also become immune to confuse, placate, and flight speed and turn rate debuffs for 15 seconds. To ensure this is not abused, any other team member who's running this console, if they do activate it after mine has expired, I will not be able to get the benefit of that console. There is a cooldown for 60 seconds. And the Enhanced Dominion Command interface busts my turn rate by 15% and gives me 10 plus 10 accuracy. It's an analyze. The ability is called Analyze Weakness. This has mixed results with me, pretty much because about half the time it won't activate. It does activate on the HUD, but it doesn't actually do anything to the ship. It's almost like because of the UI lag. So it gives me it gives the enemy minus 20 damage resist and defense rating until this the enemy suffers 15,000 damage, and they'll have the subsystem that was analysed as being weak will go offline according to my stats for 6.2 seconds. But if the foe that I'm attacking has a hot restart, that can be pretty much negated straight away. The the two-piece set gives me a benefit to accuracy and defense, a small one. When Fleet Maneuver Gamma is activated, it does add 15 and accuracy and defense for 15 seconds. Three-piece, like I said, the weapons firing does not reduce the duration of the minion defense screen, and I do get a 20% all damage buff as well. Attack consoles are the counter command attack console, which is free from whatever that mission was. Gives me a little bit of disruptor damage at the Cat 1 level than just the console, but with the two-piece with the turret, gives me 7.5% bonus phaser energy weapon damage, which is a fancy way of saying 7.5% Cat 2 damage to disruptor and phaser should I run them. I also run two locators. Sometimes I take one off, depending on what sort of conditions are. I sometimes take one off, and I might put a resist console or something on there. So in regards to my accuracy and defense, now my resting defense is 71, but if I go to over 1/3 power, or might be a quarter power, my innate defense is 141.8. My passive accuracy or innate accuracy is 61.5. So how do I increase my defense levels? Okay, so basically what I have at my disposal is I do have Attack Pattern Omega, which Omega 1, sorry, which does add 27 defense rating. I use Intelligence Team 2, which gives me another 15. This is over and above the 141. And does evasive maneuvers? No, it doesn't. So the other, like I said before, that the Fleet Maneuver Gamma adds 15 on top of that. Now, at one time, I was running Battle Ready, and then for a while, where was it? And I'll go through my Starship traits in a sec, or running Council of Thought. Sort of gave me about another 20 defense, but I learned to survive without having that on me. The other sources of defense are Superior Elusive, and also in the skill trees, because I've got this entirely filled out, it does give a passive 15% defense bonus. Also in the Starship Mastery, I'm pretty sure 5 defense. And back to the counter command, the engine itself gives me 5 defense, and the two-piece gives me, there it is, another 10 defense rating. So when all said and done, and there are other sources of defense in like the pilot in the pilot tree, I can sort of get my defense to probably around the 200-ish mark. Now, in accuracy terms, 61.5 passive. That's with the trait called Superior Accurate, and it's also because of the Jem Hadar consoles and the counter command deflector, in addition to fully laid out here on the skill tree. Oh, I didn't mention that on my skill tree I only have 2 out of the 3 filled out for defense. Where I do get more accuracy is obviously from my weapons. I also get more accuracy from there's more sources of defense and accuracy there, plus 40 at the stat level for defense and targeting expertise with TAC Fleet. And I think that was all. Yeah, I think that was all there. In the intelligence tree, you can see here that adaptive targeting. So upon me missing a foe, I will gain +5 accuracy for 10 seconds, and that can stack up to 4 times. So that's another 20 accuracy there. Moving on to the skill tree. So just first quickly get specializations out of the way. I run Pilot Primary and Intel Secondary. Skill tree, it's a balanced skill tree. I don't have any ultimates. And in fact, this skill tree was put together in such a way where I didn't, during the time where I was experimenting without using Orcs to Bat. I've gone back to Orcs to Bat now, which I'll go through in a tick in my buff abilities, but I'm wasting 1, 2, 3, 4 readiness points here that could be deployed elsewhere. I might do a respec shortly where I'll probably add them here. I might put more pen in and more shield pen as well. So I still haven't fully figured out what I'm going to do with that change. But essentially I've got 2 here in hull restoration and hull capacity. I've got full in energy. I've got nothing in torps. All the EPS that I can get. I've only got 2 impulse expertise. I used to run 3, but when they changed the Impulse Engine Epic modifier to add another 20 at that level, I sort of dropped back that one there. Now, for a long time, I didn't have anything in here, but since moving away from my Manasa, I became very susceptible to drain, and as you know, the drain is quite powerful. So I've got 2 in drain expertise. I do have 1 in control expertise as well to sort of offset a little bit some of the holds that I get. Full accuracy, 2 in defense. I do have full armor plating for both energy and physical, kinetic, and what's the other one? Physical and electrical. I've got 2 in shield hardness to negate some of the damage my shields receive. I've got full points in crit severity. I dropped back for this specific skill tree when in my non-Orcs to Bat days. I did drop back 1 in specialization because, as you can see, it's only a drop of 0.6 critical chance. I do have plus 4.8 to weapons and engine subsystems via this one. Maximum long-range targeting, and I do have only 2 points in hull pen, which I think I'll be fixing soon. Now, these 2 are quite important. To get this one, which is the most important one, you have to get this one. People don't really get the full meaning of what warp core efficiency actually is. It's a bonus of anywhere from 0 to 10 to your weapons, to your subsystem power level, and that bonus gets larger from 0 to 10. The lower you have your preset in that subsystem. So at 75, you'll if you have this number on this side set to 75, your bonus from this warp core efficiency will be 0. If you have it at 15, the bonus will be 10. So if I didn't have that slotted, my shield power just sitting here would be at 31, and so would be my Orc's power. This one is still getting a slight buff from that, and weapons power is not getting any buff at all. I do have shield mastery. It does negate 1 critical hit per 20 seconds. I also have shield absorption, which does heal my shield up to 20% of the incoming damage of that critical hit. This one here I want to talk to about as well, because a lot of people have the wrong idea about coordination protocols and defensive and offensive coordination. They read the trait and they go, oh, it's just for my hangar pets. It's actually not, okay? It's actually not just for your hangar pets. It's actually for your teammates as well, okay? So you can see here at the bottom yellow part of each of those says plus 5% hull capacity and shield capacity for all other teammates and summoned allies, just for having coordination protocols. 5% accuracy and damage to all other teammates, and 5% defense and damage resist rating for all other teammates. Okay, so what that means is that you have those 3 slotted for the rest of your team, and the other teammates have it slotted for you. So if you have a team of 5 all running full coordination protocols, you have 4 stacks. Okay, so that's 20 accuracy and base damage increase, 20 defense and damage resist. So there's more sources of accuracy and defense that I didn't mention earlier. Trait wise, I run ablative shell, superior accurate, biotech patch for the increase as a percentage increase to my existing hull restoration stat. So it's not whatever my hull restoration stat number is, which is 115. It's not just plus 20 on that, it's a 20% increase. So and that's on top of other increases here as well from hull healing and that sort of from the Kabali console and that sort of stuff. So biotech patch is a good trait. Then I go superior elusive for the defense. Give your all. It's a dodge to incoming damage for 3 seconds every time you activate an engineering ability. Nanite repair matrix. I should probably say I do sometimes run failsafe scrambler to basically placate all my foes around me when I reach 20% hull. I've been trying to wean myself off that to try and survive. I have been starting to not slot this, but in the last PvP I just did before recording this, I did have it slotted, Nanite Repair Matrix. This trait's actually free from a story mission. When you drop below 50%, you with my hull restoration stat, it gives me back 12k hull. Okay, some people don't like this trait because of the long cooldown. It's 90 seconds, but I'm very confident that in my abilities to manage my hull levels, that if someone does get me below 50, I can probably make sure that they don't again within the next 90 seconds. That's why I've pretty much persisted with that trait when others have dropped it. Secret command codes, it's sort of like a must in PvP to run this. A lot of your hull heals will come purely from this, okay? So what it does, when you are targeted by a control effect or subsystem offline, you gain a plus 50 resist to confuse, disable, hold, placate, and root for 10 seconds. You do get a all damage resistance rating increase of 20 for 10 seconds, and you get a hull heal per second for 10 seconds. And again, with my hull restoration stat, that's just shy of 2200 hull. For 10 seconds, that's 22,000 hull back. And that can happen once every 30 seconds. It's a very powerful trait, and I do suggest that you do use it. Then I run Superior Training and Fleet Coordinator. If I'm in Karat and not teamed, I untick this and put it somewhere else. But if I am in a 5v5, I do slot it because I do get 10% Cat 2 damage. The cannons, that's a Cat 2 damage buff as well of 7.5. That's it for my personal traits. I do run Starship traits of obviously invincible. You sort of do have to have it nowadays. Go for the kill, which is the Starship trait that comes with this ship. Essentially what this Starship trait does, every time I do crit hit with cannon rapid fire, it will add 3 seconds every 5 seconds. So if I can crit enough, I can make this go for 15 seconds, and with Orcs to Bat I can basically get it cooled down to 15 seconds almost, so I get pretty much almost up to 100% uptime of cannon rapid fire. I do have a trait unslotted. I didn't notice that before I came in here, but it is when I'm running my single cannon build, we're on pedal to the metal. Now the reason why I take it off on my dual heavy cannon build is because purely because of my location and the UI lag in the game as well. Because so I'm in Western Australia. That's actually slightly higher than what it normally is. It's normally 260 to 280. Combine that with the UI lag and the general lag with dual heavy cannons, and to get my dual heavy cannons to fire their entire cycle of cannon rapid fire, I sometimes have to slow down, and that immediately takes off improved pedal to the metal. So why have it slotted? So, but on my single cannon build, I do have it slotted. Now preferential targeting is the next one I have, so that's why you've probably noticed a beam fire at will here when you didn't see any beams on my ship. So basically what this does, it after using beam fire at will or cannon scatter volleys, it gives 100% cat 1 damage to either beam overload or cannon rapid fire for 30 seconds, and that equates to maybe just over 20% at the cat 2 level. So pretty much it is what improved pedal to the metal is. And I know there is superior pedal to the metal, but I was away for the game all last year and I missed it, which gives 30%, but it's improved pedal to the metal gives you 20% cat 2. So if I'm running dual heavy cannons, I do get the benefit of improved pedal to the metal, but I can slow my ship down. Okay, but with single cannon builds, I get to use both. Now I'm also running shield overload. Shield overload is quite a powerful trait. It comes on one of the temple ships from the temple ship pack, and it does give a up to 75 damage resistance rating when you activate emergency powder shields. The other thing that's very powerful about it is the shield resist. Increases shield resistance by 75%. Now these increases do reduce every 5 seconds for 30 seconds, which is the duration of emergency powder shields. That's why, if you notice, I don't run any resist consoles, because I get into the 60s just with that. Okay. Now on to space reputation traits. Run advanced engines for the speed. I didn't run this on my Manasa, but because of the sticker console giving me a lot of, I think it was over 50% speed buff and turn rate buff, but on the Jem Hadar ship it is a little bit slower, so I do run that. I run automated protomatter, which on a critical hit it does give me a decent shield heal. It also increases my passive hull regen by 100% for 15 seconds, and this can occur once every 30 seconds. So I don't have, so this is actually quite a good trait, because it doesn't actually boost your heals, it boosts your passive ability to heal yourself. Okay. I run precision for the extra 4% critical chance. Also run advanced targeting systems for the 16% critical severity, and active hull hardening, which the lower my hull gets, the bigger resist I get as well. So bridge officer abilities. So at the moment, I'm back to Orcs to Bat. I didn't actually, I moved away from Orcs to Bat because on the way that Orcs to Bat comes up on this ship, I couldn't run engineering team. With all the disables and stuff out there, you need an engineering team. You just have to have it. But what I recently did was actually only a couple of days ago, and I have been successful in the testing of it, is actually I got rid of my science abilities altogether. So I run 2 Orcs to Bats, and I do have 3 purple technicians that reduce my cooldowns by 30% every time Orcs to Bat is activated. Run emergency powder engines 1 with the evasive maneuvers DOF, the emergency con hologram. So what this does, so evasive maneuvers last for 8 seconds and then goes into cooldown for 45. But if I hit emergency powder engines now, it takes 40 seconds off it. And yeah, so that's why I run. Rounding out my engineering abilities, I run emergency powder shields 1, obviously for shield overload, and engineering team 1, and rally point marker 1. Now the reason why I was able to get rid of science, because people will be thinking, well, isn't hazard emitters really good, and isn't Psi team good to clear any, you know, sub nukes and subnucleonic beams and stuff that come at you? Yes, that's true. The Psi team is very handy. With Orcs to Bat, you know, continually cycling, my Orcs was tiny, and that reduced the effectiveness of hazard emitters. The other thing is, with a lot of the drain builds out there knocking my Orcs offline, that killed any of my science abilities. So rally point marker for me replaces hazard emitters. So rally point marker gives me a big shield heal up front, and at the same time removes every single debuff that I have on me. Okay. Now it's different to hazard emitters that debuff scrubber isn't constantly applied for 15 seconds. It basically allows me to remove it, gives me a massive hull heal, and if I stay within the rally point marker area, I do get another smaller hull heal per second, and it's also a bit of a shield heal. So before in a 1v1, and I'll try, I'm pretty sure I recorded it, I'll get that bit of the footage to show you. I was held by a couple of Psis being drained, and I was able to get out of it. Okay. My attack abilities are on rapid fire 3, Omega 1, Beta 1. Yeah, the reason why I was running Delta for a while, but I changed to Beta, and here's the reason why. While Delta did give me damage resist, it would only give a damage resist debuff to the foe that was attacking me. And because my build is so survivable, people after a while just stopped attacking me, and I needed that debuff. So I changed to Beta. Now that also allowed me to run a DOF called Agent Narelle, and which gives a hull heal just for firing mine weapons. So yeah, I was able to survive without the extra resist from Delta, so it wasn't really too much of an issue for me. Yep. I'm also running Fire at Will 1 for the preferential targeting trait. Now in the Lieutenant Commander Tactical Intelligence Station, I am running Evade Target Lock 3. Now Evade Target Lock 3, it disables my foe for 1 second, it makes me untargetable for 1 second, but it also gives a -80 accuracy rating for 18 seconds. Now when you consider that against my high defense, it widens the gap of how many shots will hit me. And combined with my high resist, it's one of the keys of why I'm so survivable in PvP. Intelligence Team 2 is the other thing I'm running, mainly for the plus 15 damage resistance rating, more damage resistance rating there. It's also does clear most intel ability debuffs on me. And I'm also running TAC Team 1 for obviously the shield balancing. Now in the talked about the con officer for the evasive, the beta doff, and the 3 orcs to bat doffs. The final doff I want to talk to you about is Keel L. Now Keel L is quite an old doff in this game, and it's a chance to remove all debuffs by simply activating emergency power 2 subsystem ability. Let's have a look deeper into this. So to read, it's a chance of removing any negative effects currently active on you on the use of an emergency power ability. This effect is instant and therefore cannot prevent debuffs from being reapplied immediately. Now it does say here it's a 40% chance to remove all debuffs upon activating. So you would think with 2 emergency power subsystem ability activating, you'd think that, you know, one over every 2 activations will get it. Now, not many people realize how these abilities work. Each activation actually triggers 4 activations within the system of applying the power to your subsystem. That's 4 rolls of Keel L each time you activate an emergency power to subsystem ability. What that essentially means is that, now I haven't done the maths on this, but from what I've observed, out of every 10 activations, Keel L might not activate once. So that is almost uptime of Keel L, and as you can see, when you're running 2 different emergency powered subsystem abilities, you can activate Keel L every 15 seconds. Combine that with the debuff remover from Rally Point Marker, and also the debuff remover from the Iconian Shield, I do have a lot of debuff removals at my disposal without having hazard emitters. Next I want to talk about is some of the extras I use. The type Ablative Jevanite adds 100 points to your stat for hull capacity. So as you can see that because of my skill tree and other gear, the hull of my escort's 72.5k, that's for an escort. Activating Jevanite, there is a bit of a delay as it applies to the skill tree and then recalculates, goes up to 86, just over 86k. That's pretty big for an escort. Okay, now you add on top of that 4 stacks of coordination protocols, and my hull capacity is in the mid to late 90s. Now everybody should be running threatening stance when they're PvP. Now the threat generation doesn't mean nothing when you're playing against other players, but you get a 20% chance when you're receiving damage to increase your maximum hull by 5% for 60 seconds, and that can stack up to 10 times. So fully stacked, that's 50% extra hull on a 95-ish K, 96k hull. That's an extra 47, 48k hull that goes on top of that. So my hull is between 140 and 150k when a threatening stance is fully stacked and I've got Jevanite active. Now 150k is big for an escort. But here's the reason why having such a big hull is good. Okay, it's these 2 consoles, the Lucari and the DPRM. Lucari console Protomatter Field gives a 390% increase to your passive hull regeneration. Okay, as you can see, mine's 48.8 out of combat. That drops, I think, below 10% when I'm in combat. But that adds 390. Now, 390% of a 140, 150k hull means that each second that goes by, it's repairing my hull at that much larger rate. Now, if I am getting, attacked from like 4, sometimes 5 players, I do activate the DPRM as well as the Protomatter Field to give me an extra 500% hull regen. That is 890% of 140, 150k hull that is regenerating for 20 seconds. Basically allows me to cool down my other heal abilities, and it's my sort of, oh shit, I'm about to die ability, or my invincible has gone off and I need, I can't get down to 0 hull again. The other thing I use is some of these items from the competitive reputation system. There is a bunch of things you can use. I use the increased max shields. Now you can get them as drops from the PVEs and other competitive stuff, but you can go into the store and buy them. Okay, so the one I use is increased max shields. Increased max shields increases my total shield capacity by 40% for 15 seconds, and it prevents normal damage from bleeding through shields for 15 minutes. So by what do I mean by normal damage? Now that's any attacks that would be susceptible to shield bleed through and not shield bypass. There are other things in there as well: increased max hit points, increase to control resistance, takedown buffs for shields and hull and critical chance. Now, you can only have one of these active at any one time. So if you choose to use the shield, you can't just through the match go, I want to use the control resistance one. Now you have to wait that 15 minutes for the shield one to cool down. In the short section, there is another one that I was only told about yesterday actually, and I haven't had a chance to use it yet, called the Instant Repair Revive. Okay, so basically you can activate this if you've used everything else to heal you, you've got nothing else, you've burnt all your heals, they're all in cooldown, Invincible's gone. This will give you back 50% of your hull. I haven't actually had a chance to use this yet. Like I said, I already talked, I was only told about it yesterday, yeah, I can't wait to see what that extra added layer will add to my PvP ability. Ladies and gentlemen, is pretty much my PvP build. And while I'm in this ship, this is pretty much the way it's going to remain. I am sort of working on a build just on paper at the moment where I don't rely on shield overload anymore. I'm pretty close, and I'll probably, next week or so, take a build without shield overload in the carrot to see how I go, and then probably into the queues. The Jem Hadar 3-piece and the Jem Hadar ship itself, because it is quite expensive, does get a bit of flack being pay to win, and the fleet maneuver gamma ability is considered by some to be, oh yeah, pay to win, not every player has it, cool. So basically what I'm going to be doing is in the next couple of days go back to my Manasa, because I don't want to be known, in PvP as someone who is relying on their equipment. I want to, be able to do it myself without, having something that other players see out of their reach. So I will be going back to my Manasa, but I will go back to my Jem Hadar if I need to, if I miss it. But looking forward to going back to Manasa because it's such a fast ship, and I really, really miss it. So for those who stayed for the entire length of the video, I do thank you. I hope that you found something beneficial from it, from either a PvP or a PvE side. And I look forward to seeing you on my next video, which should be coming out soon. I'll see you out there. Bye.